Welcome to episode 323 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have Guy Serle back on the show. It's been a while. How you doing, Guy?
Underpants. No.
Hooray!
That makes the recording.
No, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Been a while.
Of course. Yeah, it's always great to have you. And a surprise guest for this week, Mr. Chuck Joyner is here. How you doing, Chuck?
Great. Everything I do is a surprise, David.
Yeah, it is. I'm so glad you were able to make it tonight. Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Guy. I'm waiting.
Go ahead, Guy.
Hold on. I've got my pen. I'm ready to take notes.
Carry on.
Okay. Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. Although I am mildly disappointed that Guy was able to find the self-restraint to stop.
It's not my show. I get yelled at when I do things like that on other people's shows.
Hold back. And last but certainly not least, Marty Jencius. I'm so glad you're here. How are you doing?
It's Thursdays are always great, but this Thursday I feel like death eating crackers. It's been a rough couple of days, but glad to be here.
I appreciate you being here. We'll miss you, Ben. Ben couldn't make it this week, but we'll see him next week, I am sure. I don't know. We have something to talk about. Oh, this Apple event that happened. That thing. I think a lot of it was this past Monday. So we'll have plenty to talk about that, and I'll fill it in with everything else. But I liked, as I always do each week, we talk about beta. Apple did release the release candidates for iOS 18 and iPadOS 18 this week. And again, it's going through the same features we were talking about. I think we're ready to go here because Apple did announce the fact that it is going to get released on this coming Monday as we record this September 16th. And all the other updates will be out as well. So I don't think there's much else to talk about. I as I usually do when we have a release candidate, I did put that on my iPhone 15 Pro Max. I braved it. So far, I'm getting a little used to it because I hadn't had it on my primary device. Marty, have you seen anything out of the ordinary with this last
I don't know if
RIC?
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen anything out of the ordinary. I add the betas on dangerously early. And so everybody talks about, oh, it's happening Monday. And it's kind of anticlimactic for me. But and because everybody's talking about it, I'm starting to notice actions that I might have had on the phone and other iOS devices prior to this, but I'm just paying more attention to it.
Yep. And again, this is iOS 18.0. That is going to be the one that will be released to everyone, including the iPhone 16, which we'll talk about in a second. But they're continuing to beta test iOS 18.1. That I know you are running, Marty. And again, this is because of Apple Intelligence that is being held back. We'll talk about that as part of the announcement. So it is continuing to work. And you still been trying the Apple Intelligence stuff in that latest beta?
Yeah, and again, I did some trips this weekend, so things were popping up through CarPlay because my phone was attached to it. It's like, oh, it's offering me a summary, and things like that have started to appear that are in the purported 18.1 release, and I've been running it in beta since they had it out as a developer beta.
Yep. And Apple did release iOS 18.1 beta 3 for upcoming iPhone 16 models. They have to have a special release for that. It's a different build number versus what's on all the other devices. Again, that's the only way you're going to be able to use it going forward. Once you get an iPhone 16, it's going to be at 18.0 to start, and you can go into beta. As we always say, don't you do put beta on your primary device. We don't want you doing that. No. And a couple other notes. Watch OS 11, that release candidate is also out. Have you had anything going on with your watch, Marty, on that?
I'm just noticing the tiles, and again, my watch is for telling time, and that still seems to work even with the developer beta on it. So
does it have a calculator?
Yeah, and calculator. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Got the calculator. Yep. So that will be out on the 16th as well, and we'll also see tvOS will be out for Apple TV. Again, not much out other than the Insight feature we've talked about on Apple TV Plus, and you have some subtle differences, including the 21:9 aspect ratio for projectors and new screensavers. So again, nothing uneventful. We've talked about many times. The Apple TV is still a couple of years since another new one has been announced. So
yeah, I think it's going to be one before the end of the year.
Well, we can always hope.
So cute.
What, did I think that?
Yes. I would love for you to be right, but I don't think we're getting a new Apple TV this year.
Yeah, I'd be
What
surprised.
are the odds? No, I won't play that sound effect.
What else does it need to do that it already doesn't do?
Yeah.
I have a hypothesis on that.
Go ahead, I'll let you do that.
Okay, so here's my hypothesis. If you're going to make a new Apple TV, you make two versions of it. And one has they both have a new processor, faster processor, so they can handle video games, and then it becomes like like Apple's true game console, as well as your whole media hub system. The second model has an option for additional external storage, so then it can become like a Plex server in your home today. Although I know Apple will never do that model.
No.
But it would be cool if they did.
It
But
would
the
be.
one with the higher processor, probably more RAM as well, so that it can be pitched, at least to some markets, as a gaming console.
It could be. I think it has some room for improvement for that, but go ahead.
Jeff, I might look. I kind of agree with you. It would be nice. It would be especially nice if Apple would do that and then give it access to external storage, because you're never going to want to buy an Apple TV with internal storage that can't be upgraded, because you're going to fill it up in 30 seconds. If you have any kind of media library. So, and I'm not qualified to talk about games. It seems like that every time we hear an Apple TV discussion come up of any kind, that they're the next version, it's always going to be a game machine. It's always going to be a game machine. I'm just not sure Apple, in spite of the fact that they've got the hardware to do it, that just is not in their DNA in that way.
You're right. However, wouldn't it be cool?
I think Apple should just buy Steam and then put out a...
Let's not go down that road.
When I say that, but Apple at this point has so much money. It's like, do we really need to develop a market? Can't we just buy the market? And purchasing something like Steam would automatically make them a gaming platform.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, but do they want to be a gaming?
Epic, then that
No.
would actually be karma right there.
No, they throw tumbleweeds at Epic.
But do they want to be a
thinking
gaming?
buy Epic and then sell off all the assets?
Yeah.
Out of spite.
Value back to the shareholders, yeah.
But Guy, do they want to be a gaming platform? I mean, that's...
I think they want... Here's the thing, Chuck. Where has the biggest growth been for Apple for like the last 5 years? Not revenue, but growth. It's been in services. And services... One of the things that will bring people into your other services is to have hardware and software that a larger market wants. And so if they buy Steam and they don't make it, this isn't like a Microsoft move where they buy Bungie and then take all the games away that was originally developed for the Mac. This is just like, we're not taking anything away from anybody else. We're just going to make it also available for the A and M series processors of whatever devices that we make into the future. And then they automatically have a huge gaming market because they've got I can't even think of what it's called. Their games code change.
Apple Arcade?
No, not Apple Arcade. They have
the software tools, so you can port your game
so
to
that
Apple
works
Silicon.
from DirectX and some of the other proprietary codecs that are used in so many of these games and make it work with Apple Silicon. Maybe eventually I'll get Left 4 Dead back on my Mac again. That would be cool. I would love that.
So help me, Guy, and help me understand.
Sure.
Doesn't the game service though kind of have to be fed with new games all the time?
Sure.
The cutting edge
Nothing would
games.
change. Nothing would change with Steam. All the developers that are currently making games for Steam could continue to still put them in there, and it would still work with Windows. It would still work with Linux. It would still work with whatever platforms are out there that are currently still using Steam. It would just add the A and M series processors and whatever little cuts into the Mac OS that would be required to play those games.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and move on. We want a lot to cover tonight, especially with the Apple event. So I'd like to move right on to that, and let's just talk about what was announced. There was just some great things announced during this event. I'll start with the iPhone. The iPhone was the iPhone 16 and the 16 Plus. They added the action button. They added a camera control. It's a 6.1 inch is the 16 and 6.7 inch on the 16 Plus. The key feature, and this is going to be on both the Pro Max, the Pros and standard models, is going to be the camera control on the side of the devices. It's positioned just below the power button, so you can control various features in the camera app. We'll be talking more about this and what's going on here, because if I go in depth, a lot of this stuff will be here for a long time. So we have plenty of information to talk about this over future episodes here, but. So it also have the action button, which was introduced with the 15 Pro. Now the action button is going to be available on all iPhone 16 models, as well as this camera control function, as well as all the phones will have the A18 chip, which will be about 30% faster performance over the 16 Bionic from the 15 and 15 Plus. So, and Apple Intelligence will be available in these models as well. So. The 16 and 16 Plus will now have vertically aligned rear cameras, which will include a 48 megapixel main camera that doubles as a 12 megapixel telephoto camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. So you've got some pretty big improved features as far as in the camera goes. And then colors, you're going to have all kinds of new colors, including vibrant ultramarine, teal, pink, white, and black finishes. And that's kind of the appeal to this model, because you do have a lot more choices when it comes to the colors of this model. Would anybody here be interested in buying that 16 or 16 Plus? I don't think so.
I'm due for a new phone.
Yeah, me too.
So because I'm still doing a 12 Pro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the big question is, what's the right 16 for me?
Okay, let's go get to the Pro, and then we'll compare notes. So hold that thought, Guy. So that was the 16 and 16 Plus. And then you're going to move on to the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. That also has larger displays, the same camera controls, and has a lot more. The 16 Pro is going to be a 6.3 inch screen, while the 16 Pro Max will have a massive 16.9 inch display, the biggest iPhone display ever. The borders around the display are the thinnest of any Apple device, and the titanium frame will now feature a new blasted finish that comes in a refreshed selection of colors, which is a darker black titanium, brighter white, and natural titanium, and all new desert titanium. This is going to be the A18 Pro chip, which is made off of a second generation of 3 nanometer technology, 16 core neutral engine, and 17% more bandwidth, making it Apple Intelligent tasks to run like about 15% faster compared to what it would run on the 15 Pro, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you're just going on and on about the processor. You're definitely going to get some improved processing speeds. The camera is going to have a Fusion 48 megapixel camera with a second gen quad pixel sensor, enabling zero shutter lag, with 48 megapixel Pro RAW and HEIF photos. And the ultra wide camera is also got 48 megapixel with autofocus for the first time in the 5X. Tetraprism telephoto camera is now going to be on both the 16 Pro and Pro Max. And the other big announcement was with the camera was the fact that the 48 megapixel Fusion camera on the 16 Pro will also support 4K 120 frames per second video capture in full HDR, which is just crazily sane compared to that. And then as well as spatial audio, you're going to have that with immersing recordings. And again, we talked about the camera controls. And the camera control also gains visual intelligence, which is a new Apple Intelligence feature exclusive to the 16 lineup, which you can invoke it with the camera control, allowing you to point your iPhone camera to something like pull up contextual details such as information about a restaurant, or it's taking actions like filling out a calendar event, and improved microphones and such. So they're just a tremendous amount of added features and very attractive as far as what the Pro is. Now, as far as which one you would pick, I mean, that really is going to all depend on what is going to fit into your budget, as well as what you really would want when it comes to the iPhone. So, Guy, you did say you are going to be buying a new iPhone this year. Which one did you decide to go with?
Excuse me. I'm going with the 16 Plus TL256.
Okay.
Main reason, because I'm coming from a 13. Main reason being that I could go to the Pro. It's not a question of money. It's mostly a question of, do I need all of the extra features that come with the Pro? And also, I do want a bigger phone, but I don't want a 16.9-inch phone. I want, I'm getting the 16.7, which is a little bit smaller. And I think that the iPhone 16 Plus is going to be a great phone. Hopefully I'll have that for 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you've had 13 for a while, so that you definitely do.
Here's the thing. The 13, as well as I'm sure Jeff's 12, has been great phones. And there hasn't been really anything with the 14 or the 15 that I needed on a regular basis. It wasn't like I sat there and said, I need to do this thing. Oh, but I can't because all I got is a 13. So I've been very, very happy with the 13, but it was time to upgrade. And with things coming along the lines like Apple Intelligence, it was past time to go ahead and get a new phone.
Okay. No. Yep. You deserve it. You got to have a nice new phone. Marty, I know you, like me, and I believe Chuck as well, go upgrade plan every year. And I know you probably your plans, but you could share with everybody what you're going to go with this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 16 Pro Max. I paid off my 15, and that'll go to decreasing the cost of the 16. And I have gotten into this annual upgrade. I'll tell you that the thing that I'm missing, though, is that joy that I think Guy's going to have and Jeff's going to have, because when you jump a couple of phones, you really feel it. And that was, you could go to a new phone, 6 years ago and you'd still feel it. But now there's so much little that changes that going from a 15 to a 16, I don't think I'm going to feel the change that Guy and Jeff will feel by making that shift. But I'm on the yearly upgrade process, and I've got 2 to go. One is a 512 and one is a 1 terabyte. I don't know which one I'm going to pull the trigger on. That'll be made up. We'll make that decision tomorrow morning in the moment. And Black, go with that. So.
Yep. Okay. Jeff, have you decided what you're going to do with the iPhone?
I need to put them in my hands and see what I like. So it'll either be a 16 or a 16 Pro, not a Plus or a Max. And for me, doing the upgrade comes down to a couple things. One is going from the cameras on a 12 Pro to a 16 or a 16 Pro. That's going to be a significant improvement in image quality. And the other thing is Apple Intelligence support. So
yeah, that's big.
I need to feel them in my hands. I need the tactile thing before I decide which is right for me. I'm guessing that after I play with them and try out camera features in the store, it'll end up being the 16 Pro. But the great thing is the features on the 16 versus 16 Pro, I mean, they're great for both phones. So it's totally possible that I'll get in the store and after I'm done playing with them, decide, the 16 does everything that I need.
Yep. It's like Oprah, you get a camera control and you get a camera control and you get a camera control.
Right.
Wait, I got to look under my seat.
Oh, Guy got a
a new car. And Chuck, you tell us what your plan is this year for upgrades.
My plan is to do the pre-order tomorrow of the 16 Pro Max. I'm kind of anxious to see. This is the first year I've sort of waffled, although there are enough differences between the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max that make me want to go to the Max, and not just the obvious one, the screen size. But I've said this a number of times. I prefer to carry the smaller phone. I prefer to use the larger phone. And since using kind of trumps carrying, I'm there. That's just the way it is. Although I am going to get it and see, because it does weigh, from the articles we've read, it weighs just a little bit more. And that's, part of the issue of carrying a bigger phone.
Yep.
I don't know if the dimensions are going to be noticeably different. So I'm anxious to see that. But if I could save the money and feel like I wasn't missing out on something, I would. But I want to have the best thing in my hand I can, because it's the one device of all of them that I have with me pretty much all the time, as long as I'm awake. So that's the way I'm going, and we'll see what happens. And it'll be black. And I'm also going to go with the 256 configuration this time, because I've done 512s in the past, and I like that. I like the idea of being able to slam a lot of stuff on there or record a lot of video. But now with the USB-C connection, and by the way, I don't know if you guys read this, but only the Pro Series has USB-C 3. So that's something to note. If you're thinking about capturing video with it, dump it right off to an NVMe SSD, and I'll be fine if I decide to go that way. So that's my rationale.
Okay. And I am going to go down the same road with Chuck. I'm on the upgrade program as well, and we'll be trading in. No, actually, I won't be trading in. I'm going to be getting the 16 Pro Max in the black titanium, and I'm gonna stick with 512 gigabytes. That's what I had for the 15 Pro Max. This is the year the family member, my sister-in-law, is going to get my 15 Pro Max, because she's way overdue, and she'll get a really nice deal because it won't be as much as buying a new one. So she'll switch her. Actually, it was my iPhone 12 Pro Max to now it's going to be her 15 Pro Max, and so she'll get the benefit of the 15, which is a great model. So that's great. We got a lot of upgrades going in here, and as everybody kept mentioning, you can now, we've done most of us who are on the upgrade program can now pre-order and get ready for the iPhone launch, and just get pre-order set up. So you get into the Apple Store app on your iPhone and process their requests. It'll check to make sure that you're ready to go as far as upgrades, or whether you'd have to pay it extra. Because sometimes I've run into that in the past where the timing was different, and when it didn't go for a full year, then you end up having to pay the difference to cover the 1 year cost. That's what you have to have, at the minimum 1 year of payments before you can get a trade in. Otherwise, you got to pay down to make it to that. So you get to do that, and then you just have it all set to go. And the timing is going to be 5 a.m. Pacific time, 7 a.m. Central, and 8 a.m. Eastern time to get right on the app and start the pre-order process. No more of those fun days of when we got to stand outside in front of the Apple Store and wait in those long lines. Remember all that fun stuff we used to do all those years? And
good times.
It was good times. People getting there at 2:00 in the morning and setting up tables so you can have your meals and snacks and just hang out with everybody. But why do you need to do that anymore when you can just pre-order it? And Apple's made it a tremendous amount easier. And we're always going to be on there right at 7 a.m. when my time, Central Time. Keep trying. Oh, I got in, and then just got to be quick and get it in, and then you'll get your timing in when it comes to that. So that's going to be great here. So, but number of other notable things that you can take a look at. The 16 Pro is still going to start at 128 gigabytes of storage. It's going to max out at 1 terabyte. There is going to be a new supported JPEG XL format for photos. I'll go into more of these details in future shows, but just want to mention them real quick. The 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max have the exact same feature set aside from the display size and the battery. The battery life is going to be insane. They're saying some really good long battery life on the 16 Pro Max, and got much bigger batteries, which is great. Other things would be noticed, any 16 models that are sold outside the US will still continue to have a physical SIM card tray, since other countries still support that. And it's going to be 8 gigs of RAM, so they've increased that size as well. And Chuck, you had said the 16 with this USB-C was going to be, it is limited to USB 2 on the 16, but no change is just going to be for the 16 Pro, which is a USB 3. When it comes with that, so you should be okay with that.
And
I
bring that up, Dave. I bring that up especially and primarily for the folks who are going to be moving large chunks of data off, namely video files.
Yeah,
video files, especially now with this 4K 120 frames per second. That those are going to be insane big files.
Yeah.
We're going to offload
spatial video too, which I know we've had on
spatial video
Max on 15, right. But I think this is a connection to content creators in the Vision Pro.
Vision Pro. Oh, sure.
Which is going to be very cool.
Good point.
Then you have a topic after we get through this. We'll talk about Vision Pro. We always have that every week here. So let's talk briefly about the Apple Watch. Apple Watch they announced a thinner Apple Watch Series 10. It's got a much bigger screen than the Ultra, which is kind of crazy. So it's an ultra wide angle OLED display, and it is a little larger than the Apple Watch Ultra. It's the biggest and thinnest design ever. It's going to be 9.7 millimeters thick, which is nearly 10% thinner than the Series 9. Weighs 20% less than the stainless steel Series 9. Aluminum cases will weigh about 10% less, while the Series 10 will also come in grade 5 titanium, replacing stainless steel, and you'll pay for that, of course. They are spouting about the fact that it'll be a much faster charge than ever. So be aware of that when it comes to that as well. And you'll also actually be able to play music and podcasts directly through the speaker for the first time, which is kind of a neat thing. I don't know if you want to do that unless you're in a room by yourself, because especially walking around and people always walking, you're always hearing them talking loud, and being able to do that with the watch. So, and it does have a new color, jet black, which is going to be available as well. So you're going to have some another great color. I like that kind of color. So pricing is going to start at $399, which $499 for cellular models, and you can already pre-order it as of we're recording this. That was pre-ordered the same day as the event, and it's going to come out tomorrow, or I'm sorry, a week from tomorrow on the 20th. So again, I'll make the rounds here. I'll start with Chuck this time. What's your plans on your Apple Watch?
Sorry. I have already pre-ordered an Apple Watch Series 10. Mainly because I've been thinking about upgrading to the Ultra, but the Ultra features are nice, but there's nothing there that I really need. What I really want, again, just like the phone, is a bigger screen. So that's on pre-order. I was going to wait and put it on my wrist and compare that to the Ultra, but since the screen is really my primary thing and there was really nothing else done to the Ultra except make it black, which is a great looking, don't misunderstand, it's a great looking watch. But I just feel like it's money I don't need to spend for features that I really am not going to use. So I'll be hopefully getting one on release day.
Okay. And Jeff, what's your plan with the Apple Watch?
I am not getting a new Apple Watch, and there's one specific feature that will hold me back from getting a new Apple Watch probably for a while still, and that's the oxygen sensor.
Yep.
I use that on my Series 8, and I use it often enough that I'm not going to give that up.
Yep. And Barney, you're double-wristed, I believe, if I remember correctly.
I made a little switch this week. I have an Ultra 2, and I was going to trade that in, but I was reminded that's the only one that still has the oxygen sensor on it. So I'm going to trade in my 9 for a 10. And going with the titanium. One of the things that I just recognized is the titanium version of the 10 comes with GPS and cellular. You can't select out of that. The aluminum models allow you to choose either GPS or GPS and cellular. So by default, I'm getting the titanium with GPS and cellular.
Okay. And Guy, you doing anything with the Apple Watch this time around?
I don't think so. I have a 7 that is my everyday rocker, and then I also have a 5 that I basically use as like a sleep monitor. So, that's like the big things that I use the watch for. I like that it ties into a lot of the other functions, like in CarPlay with maps and all the rest of that. But there's really nothing on the new ones that makes me want to trade that in, especially for if I would have to lose the oxygen sensor. So no, I'm gonna wait.
Okay. And I have the Series 9, and I have the oxygen sensor on the Series 9. So I got towards the end there before they had to lose that. So I think I'm going to stick with it. I'm tempted to look at the 10 because it is a nice, but a lot of the features that the 10 is going to have is going to be on the 9. So I don't think I'm too overly worried about that. So, but they're going to be a lot. I think Apple's going to sell a lot more Apple Watches. I mean, I think they've done some great feature sets on that. So it's going to be very cool here. So let's talk about the AirPods. The AirPods, they came out with the AirPods 4 and the AirPods with the 4 with the active noise cancellation. Can be 2 different models. Added things like they're doing a much better job of fitting. The fits is going to be really good, and it's got the voice isolation. And then, like I said, this personalized spatial audio will be on the higher end model. So you're going to have that, and it's definitely a big improvement to some of the other older models that they had on the low end models. I believe it starts at $129 and $179 for the $179 is going to be the higher end model that includes the spatial audio, and then the base model is the AirPods 4. So you've got some great choices there as well. So those are the new ones of the AirPods, and it does now have USB-C and wireless charging for those before, because those were Lightning before, and they never had wireless charging before. Now they do, and it looks like they're using an Apple Watch style charger on it, so which is great. Get up to 30 hours of battery life, and with the charging cases, with charging case, which is great. So yeah, I mean, I don't know much else to say. Do you guys any comments on what your thoughts about the announcement on the AirPods 4?
I again, I've got AirPod Pros, the second version, so I mostly already have everything that's coming up with the regular AirPods 4. So I'm still going to hold off. I need something more. If I was going to get new AirPods, it would probably be the AirPods Pro 2, and you're going to talk in just a minute about why. But
yeah. So I don't think a lot of people. I mean, people might be looking at starting off with the lower end models, and if that works for them. So that's okay. But you're right. There's the AirPods Pro 2, which were not upgraded, other than software upgrades. Because what they're going to gain is the hearing aid functionality, and actually, as we record this today, the FDA in the United States, the FDA did approve for Apple to release that with the hearing aid functionality on it. So that was some great news, and so looking forward to some of that software included. So basically, it is a hearing aid, and that's, I think, maybe the hearing aid companies might be a little concerned about this. Is it going to take away some of their business because anybody can buy a $249 AirPods Pro 2 versus getting a really expensive hearing aid?
Yeah, my wife has the programmable hearing aids that she's spent $2,500 to $3,000 on.
Oof.
And well, I mean, they're all like that or more.
Yeah.
So
right.
It's not like she got ripped off or anything. That was just the going price.
Right.
If the AirPods 2 Pro 2 will have this feature and have similar type controls via, your iPhone, then that's like a huge game changer. And yeah, hearing aid companies will probably have to discount the ones that they have. It's kind of like lead follower, get the hell out of the way. And it's looking like Apple is charging into this space, and yeah, they had better start paying attention. Don't do a BlackBerry where it's like, well, we were here first and we're the best, so we don't have to worry about it, because
Yeah.
Apple will eat your lunch.
Yeah,
I have a slightly
That
different
is-
perspective on that.
go for it.
Guy, you're absolutely right. Apple is charging into this space, and people need to pay attention, or they're going to get caught with their britches down. However, the part of the space that Apple is charging into is not the space where, like your wife's hearing aids fall in.
Yes.
It's this is something that if you're doing over-the-counter hearing aids, stuff where people are paying $250 for hearing aids, that's where this is a potential competitor, although I still don't see it as a major threat, because when you're looking at actual real hearing aids, even if they're at the $200 price point,
Mhm.
you're looking at a device that's designed to be able to run for more than a day, probably several days on the batteries. Whereas your AirPods Pro, you're going to get 6 hours.
Well, it depends. If one thing Apple could do with these is, if you put them into hearing aid mode, then it turns off everything else. It turns off the radios. It turns off all the stuff that's eating up the battery, which will give them a much longer battery life.
Yeah,
Sure.
that-
I don't think that's how it'll work, though. But yeah,
Probably not. But if I was designing something like this for Apple, that's how I would have it. It's like, okay, you want to use these as hearing aids. We turn off everything except what you need to do for them to act like hearing aids.
I don't think you're actually turning off that much then, because you need to have Bluetooth on, so the hearing aids, so the AirPods can at least talk to each other, even if they're not talking directly to your iPhone all the time. So that radio doesn't get turned off. Then you need to have the microphones on so that they're listening all the time. All right. How about if I change what I'm saying to, I'm looking forward to seeing what clever things Apple has done to give you better battery life on your AirPods Pro 2 when you're doing hearing aid mode.
Yeah. The biggest thing too they've added is hearing protection. It's going to be on by default, and it's doing hearing tests. So it'll actually do a hearing test, and you can share this information with a doctor if you so choose. And all these test results are privately stored in the health app, so you'd be able to share all that information with your doctor if you need to pursue anything further than what these AirPods could do for you. It is a personalized hearing profile that's set up, so it'll personalize it to your hearing as it measures it, including, and then you also are added with the noise app is included, the reduce noise, as well as a conversation boost and conversation awareness that's in there. The adaptive EQ is there, and the headphone audio levels are also there within the AirPods Pro 2. And this is existing for the existing AirPods Pro 2 models. So that includes both the USB-C model as well as folks who've had the Lightning model that was from the previous gen. They're all the same. So you'll be able to run these upgrades in software, and you might be able to find a really good price on an AirPods Pro 2 if you wanted to. I mean, not have to pay the full price on it, but that's the thing. This is still the current model, but some good software enhancements that have been added, right?
Am I the only one that's getting computational photography vibe off of this? Where Apple, has taken good cameras and made them fantastic, great cameras and made them even better with computational photography, and now we're taking the AirPods and turning them a little bit sideways, figuratively, of course, and and then setting up the custom profiles and everything to sort of reinvent AirPods as hearing aids.
What do we think?
It opens, it's an opportunity to take existing technology and open up to a new market. Whereas people who had hearing problems maybe would not think, do I need to stick another thing in my ear? This gives them an option.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It also makes for a great backup.
True.
Yeah, because you forgot to throw an extra set of your regular batteries in your pocket, and it's been a few days, and oops, those just died, but I can pop my AirPods in. Or you're someone who needs hearing aids, but not in all situations. and you've already got your AirPods. So for those times where, yeah, having hearing aids would be handy, then you just use those. You don't buy anything else.
Yep.
It also might be worth noting, and Dave, I'll give you this link for the show notes. The 9 to 5 Mac reports that the stocks of the major hearing aid companies took a hit after Apple announced this. And I have to wonder what happened. And I have to wonder what happened today after the FDA approved it. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, we'll share that in the show notes. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. It's that they're a little nervous, the investors, when it comes to that. So, and the AirPods Pro, AirPods Max didn't get ignored either. Well, kinda. They announced the AirPods Max are now being updated with the USB-C charging port. That's good because it'll match to all the new iPhones, the 15 and the 16. But there's some new color options, which includes midnight blue, purple, orange, and starlight. Other than that, it's exactly the same. And it's they first introduced the AirPods Max with the Lightning port in December of 2020. So it's been 4 years. They did then everything that was announced here is very, very minor and Apple is not referring it to the new headphones as an AirPods Max 2. You also can buy the earpieces on the AirPods Max, and if you want to buy a set that's different colors, some people like to have those mix and match colors. You actually now can do that. I believe it's like $69 for a new set of the pads, and you would buy those anyway if you had to replace them if for some reason that they wore out. Yeah, after 4 years, they could. So if you want to put like purple ones on your silver AirPods Max, you could do that. So, but I think you can get some really good deals right now on the ones with the Lightning connector, because I think I've seen Amazon selling them for like $429, $399, versus the $549 full price for those headsets. They sound really good. I bought a pair for my wife, and she's been really loving them. So they're great. And I think you have a pair too, right, Marty? You used them.
Yeah, and then mine has a Lightning connector. Simply what I purchased to switch the Lightning products over to USB-C 3 for charging purposes, because my wife still has some Lightning connector stuff. Are those little dongles you can buy for about $1 a piece, and you can stick the USB-C in one end and the other end's got a Lightning. You pop it into whatever you want to charge. So this was a disappointment for me. I would expect after 5 years they would have come up with something other than you can change the color of the pads of your earmuffs.
The only reason they did this update, I feel, and I call it an update, and I'm using the term very loosely. It's only because of the EU, and they had to do the switch to USB-C. Otherwise, there would not have been any change to AirPods Max.
And let's remember, how much change do they really need that can't be done through software?
Yeah, that's true. Some of the other things, Apple did discontinue some of the fine woven cases, and are now offering silicone and plastic cases for the iPhone 16 models. I still am not a big fan of Apple's cases. I'll stick with the brands we know and love. Apple Beats brand debuts new cases for the iPhone 16 lineup. So now they've even got they got a Beats branded case for the iPhone 16. So that was interesting. And going to have a lot more introductions for Apple Watch bands. So you're going to see almost 40 new color bands as they've gone there with as well. And interestingly enough, Apple will continue to sell the EarPods, the wired EarPods, because some people still have that headphone jack and they like those EarPods. And those are going to continue to be sold as well. With the iPhone, as you have to expect, they're going to discontinue the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max as a sale. They'll be selling it, so only the 15. So you're basically, the iPhone models will now be the 14, the 15, and then of course the 16 and 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max will be sold. So you've got some of those announcements as well. And all the software updates, like I said, we're going to get released very, very shortly when it comes to that. So anything else anybody want to touch on with the announcement that caught their eye that you want to hit on?
I was kind of disappointed not when I say disappointed, I mean not necessarily surprised, but I would have liked to have seen at least them make some kind of at least lip service to upcoming Mac releases, and there really wasn't anything.
I'm not surprised that didn't happen.
No, neither am I.
But it would have been cool. But October, we oftentimes get an iPad announcement, and that would be a great time for a new Mac announcement too. I
think if they have an event in October, and they probably will, I don't think it's going to be for iPads. I think it'll definitely be an all Mac event. That
maybe the mini.
Yeah, I think the mini,
or maybe a release, press release, maybe.
I think I would love to see them do the mini and the studio to start off with. I don't think, because the iMacs are still at M3s. People who want iMacs, that's fine. M3 is fine. And the only other one that's worth talking about on the desktop side is the Pro, and who the hell knows what Apple's going to do with that. I can't imagine that's a really, really big seller. I think most people who want Pro level performance are probably going with the Studio for now.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm very tempted to get a Studio next time around to replace my M1 Mac Mini, which has been or
take a look at where the Mini is going to be, because everybody is rumored about the Mini as far as what it's going to have. So
yeah, I don't think removing ports from the Mini is a good idea, and if they do, then I won't be getting a new one. At the very least, I'll just hold off with the one that I currently have, or if it's not too dear, I may go ahead and get a Studio. I need those ports.
Even USB-A?
Which they say will be gone.
USB-A, I can, if I have a spare USB-C port, I can always just use a hub. And whatever USB-A devices that I still need to connect. But I need 3 to 5 ports for all of the various things that I have. I've got audio interface, big surprise, audio interfaces. I've got my Sony A51 camera through an eCam dongle and that's USB-A that needs to be connected. And of course, I've got a 4-bay monster storage thing filled with 8 terabyte drives, and I need those ports.
Yep. All right. So let's move on to the Vision Pro, and I could say that, and if anybody doesn't already know this, I now am a proud owner of a Vision Pro, as you see here. So I'm excited about it. I just purchased it about 4 days ago, so it's pretty fresh. I've been trying it for at least an hour each night to get some experience with it. Say my first impressions of it is it's just absolutely amazing. It's kind of a game changer, and I agree a lot with what we talked about in the past about this being a 1.0 version type model, but it looks like the software is starting to do some enhancements when it comes to the Vision OS, and Marty will definitely touch upon that in just a sec here. But I see some practicalities with it. I like the fact that you can be able to just grab an app, and you can move things around. You can launch it just by double tapping with your fingers. A lot of the some of the media apps are already out there. Like a Max has got an app, which actually surprisingly enough is actually very good, because usually Max has had some really horrible apps on their iOS and iPad OS. And Paramount Plus has it, so we're ready for Star Trek. So I can start watching all the Star Trek stuff on there.
It's going to be epic.
It's working, so you've got that. But notably absent is YouTube. You don't have that just yet. I would love for it to be available for YouTube TV. I think that's probably be coming in the future. But the biggest thing I was very impressed with is I never got to try it, because in the demo when you did it at the store, is the ability to being able to screen share with your Mac, and you get the full immersed experience of your Mac. That's your screen, and you can spread that thing out big and wide. And I was absolutely loving it, and it takes a little getting used to, that's for sure. But I was very impressed with how that works, and I want to continue to use that, because it really gives you an immersed experience with that. So it's definitely something you can have a good experience with. So I I find it comfortable. I haven't need to have to put the top strap on my head. I've so far with the tightening knob that's on here, it tightened down really nicely, so it's tight. You do have to do adjustments every time to make sure that you're because you have the eye scan for the eye ID to unlock the device for you, and it tells you, you got to move it a little up, but you got to move it right in place, and then you look up and then you look at it, and it reads your eyes, so it lets you in. The immersed videos that they have in the demos. I mean, I only got to experience it for 20 minutes at the demo, but now that I've had this for a while, it's pretty impressive. So when it comes to that, so I got some good impressions of this so far. So Marty, you've been anxiously waiting to hear my view on this, because since you've
I've been anxiously waiting to watch Chuck while you talk about it. That's what I've been.
Yeah, because he's got his eyes closed and he's like.
I was trying to ignore this whole part of the conversation.
So far so good. I'm pleased with the
Have
purchase.
you done the gestures? Have you managed to do the where you get okay? Yeah, that takes
which gestures you're talking about?
Muscle memory. The where you can put your hands out with your fingers together, and you'll get a button that will act as it'll appear in space and you press it and you wind up going to your home page instead of doing the button on top of
no, I have not tried that yet. I'll have to try that.
And you kind of have to try it and be patient with it, and then you turn it and you can get to your control center. So if you have your fingers kind of pointing down like that, it'll flip and give you the control center, how much power you have left, things like that you can open up. So it's a new piece they've added into 2.0 that has been people have really liked. I don't like the new way the fact that you can move the icons, that's great. In the previous version, every time you added a new app, it came in an alphabetical order, which made it very easy for me to page through and find the app I want to go to. Now it comes in, when was that app last added? And so it's all jumble. So you kind of I'm waiting for folders, really. That would be nice to have that. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. Spend time with the medium. Chuck and I and Eric just talked about entertainment, Vision Pro Focus. And so there's a lot of good entertainment pieces that you can do with it.
Oh, I've been already, and I could definitely add my my views on that, because you guys know I always have some good views on entertainment and streaming. So that's a popular topic for me. So that's why this is going to be an amazing entertainment consuming type device. And I'm not getting a headache. I mean, I've had it. I've been on like a straight hour, maybe 2 hours, and it hasn't been too terribly bad. After time, you do get a little head fatigue, and I just loosened the knob a little bit to loosen it up, so it's not so tight, to just kind of give me a little bit of a break. But I could probably leave it on for a good long time and still enjoy it. It's not. People were saying at first that it kind of felt a little heavy. You get used to it. You really do. Again, I can say it after just 4 days of use, but it is nice. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the way the battery is. I mean, I'm sure most people aren't. I mean, I saw Apple was at the Apple Store was selling the Belkin battery clip, and I looked at it. I'm like, that's probably gonna just fall right off my belt if I use that. I might as well just put it in my pocket and be done with it. So I opted not to get that. So it is pricey. There's no question about it, but it was a nice gift from my wife. So I'm not complaining. Okay. So it made it to be something that I can enjoy. So, and to talk about
is your wife taking on new husbands? If she's giving away $3,500 gifts.
Yeah, Marty, I was gonna break up in relation to the gestures. I've got a gesture for you too, but Dave's show is a family show, so I'm not gonna.
Well, you've got 3 of your friends that are going to tempt you now.
More than that.
Question for you.
Yeah.
When is Chuck going to buy a Vision Pro?
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
He's hosting a show, so he's hosting a show. You might have to soon. So, but you did mention Vision Pro Beta 2.0. I upgraded right away, and I'm not like that with a device, especially
Yeah.
throwing it on beta, and because you're taking a risk. It's just like I always say that every time with an iPhone or an iPad. But boy, 1.3 is horrible. I'm be honest. I mean, 2.0 is pretty amazing. You can definitely see performance improvements and interface improvements, and I mean, it's just crazy. The keyboard, you could just bring that keyboard real close to you. It's sitting like right here in front of my face. And I can do the typing and feel very comfortable doing that. Yeah, granted, we're used to finger typing, like when you have a keyboard, but you can't really do that on the Vision Pro. But
trying doing dictation. It's remarkably
yeah.
good at doing dictation,
It
whereas using that keyboard can sometimes be frustrating. A lot of the stuff you can do through dictation. Yeah.
And I've noticed that too. It follows your eyes, so when it moves around to the boxes, you're moving it around, and I keep going like this, moving my head up and down and looking around, and no, I just move my hand, go like this, and tap what I want to tap. So I like the environmental backgrounds too, like even for the videos. I mean, I had that one that came up from was the Game of Thrones. So I was in that had that beautiful indoor. I forget what that's called, that like the castle or wherever it is. And I'm looking up. I'm like, holy cow! Look at that. I mean, it's just even all the immersive videos. You're just looking down at the ocean and all these great things. So there's definitely some things that you can do with this. That's
I think they need to do a red wedding immersive environment.
Yeah. So with the release candidate for Vision Pro, the Vision OS, what did you see that I may have missed?
No,
Anything
I mean,
notable.
You're not going to get the really huge panoramic view. You can stretch one screen, but you're not going to get the huge panorama probably until 2.1. And, there are a lot of fans of this product, and they're just going nuts that they have to wait for a 0.1 release to get one of the things that was mentioned as an upgrade with what's going to happen with the 2.0 release or 2.0. And again, the way it was mentioned was it's going to be part of 2.0. It's going to be part of Vision Pro 2. They didn't say it was going to be part of Vision 2.0. So that's going to be a game changer for a lot of folks when that drops.
Well, just like they also mentioned here in an article on Vision OS 2 is later this year that the Mac Virtual Display will support higher resolution and larger size virtual displays, which is going to be equivalent to 2 4K monitors side by side, which is crazy. And you'll also have AirPlay, an update where Vision Pro can serve as an AirPlay receiver, so content from the iPhone, the iPad, or the Mac can be shared into the headset. The mindfulness app, I have not tried that. Have you tried that at all?
Oh yeah. I've tried the mindfulness. There is another app called Trip, which I think is much better. That's really fully immersive. Whereas the mindfulness is kind of the flower grows bigger, you're supposed to inhale. The flower goes smaller, you're supposed to exhale. Trip is a whole environment. I mean, it's appropriately named that. It's a whole environmental immersion thing. And I would take a look at that if you really want to get out of space.
Okay.
Look at Trip.
It's like the 70s all over again.
Yeah, as it should be. It should be.
Okay. There was one security flaw that I found here that was talked about with the can expose what you type. This was released actually today as we record this. It was a vulnerability that the Vision Pro allowed them to reconstruct what people were typing, including passwords, pins, and messages. That's kind of scary.
That's a problem. Yeah.
So I believe this was fixed. It was a vulnerability that was reported as far back as April of earlier this year, and they did address the issue with 1.3 in July, and then the update suspends personas when the Vision Pro's virtual keyboard is active. So that is a bit of a security concern. Did you take a look at this at all, Marty?
Yeah, I saw the article and I thought, okay, well, they're patching what they need to patch. I wonder if some of it's related to what they're really trying to do with 2 is that immediate translation kind of thing. So it has to listen to what you're doing and get that information and then convert it to a language if you're working with someone who's in a different language. So I there's plenty of cracks in that armor for folks for these kinds of things to emerge.
Sure.
So they patched it.
Yeah. two more things I will mention. I thought the Persona is still a major work in progress. Just getting it to set up, and you have to hold the headset in front of you here and try to line your face up to get it to. You're turning left, you're turning right, you're moving up, you're moving down, just to get it to go. It takes a lot of effort, and to do it. And then you look at it, you're like, oh my god, it looks horrible. So,
yeah, well, and they tell you to raise your chin, and I ask which chin.
Yeah,
It is worse. It is a better outcome on 2.0.
Yeah,
than it was on 1.3. But on 1.3, it was easier to do.
Yeah. So yeah, especially you got to hold your arms steady here. You move the Vision Pro back up, move it back down. So the other thing I haven't explored yet, I want to do is setting up guest mode so we can have others try it in a guest mode. I'll have to explore that, but that's another discussion altogether here. So Chuck, you're ready to buy one, right?
Every time I talk to you guys, I keep getting just one step closer. I still, for my use, and the entertainment thing is unbelievably tempting, but I'm still waiting for one of those killer productivity apps. But Dave, what you just said is what I've heard from Eric Bolden, or what I've heard from Marty, is the ability to mirror my my Mac screen in there and have a massive, screen in front of me. That is extremely tempting. So just keep talking, guys. I can feel my credit card is calling.
Well, I'm in desperate search for golf apps for Chuck, and that could push him over the edge.
Well, I'm already over the edge, Marty, but that's another discussion.
So yeah, that was a lot to go through, and we've had a lot of other discussions here on this, and there's going to be more because once we get this iPhone 16 in our hands, we'll have that. Trying the AirPods Pro with the new updates and iOS 18. There'll be a lot of great things here. There was a couple of news stories I wanted to mention real quick. While you have a little extra time here. Everybody remember the game Flappy Bird? It's coming back to the iPhone. The icon that this was just announced today as we record this, the iconic side-scrolling game Flappy Bird will apparently be returned to the iPhone soon. It's according to a website that's dedicated to the project. It was back in 2013 when this was released, quickly receiving tens of millions of downloads. I remember downloading it, and then it got pulled, and then don't delete it, you're going to need to keep it. And it's fun. It's kind of a silly game, but it looks like it probably won't get released until next year in 2025. It's being revived led by a so-called Flappy Bird Foundation, which describes itself as a new team of passionate fans committed to sharing the game with the world. They apparently acquired the official Flappy Bird trademark rights. So it's been a decade-long, convoluted journey to get here, but they're excited to finally begin sharing it once again.
Chuck, you're love the version that they have for Vision Pro.
They have one. They have one for Vision Pro.
They do.
Eric has played around with it, and we were talking to Chuck about it, where in the screen you see the pipes or the spaces come moving at you, and you have to physically flap your arms in order to go up and down. And
I pay
Eric,
good money to watch Chuck playing this.
Thank you, Jeff. I was waiting for that.
Yeah, Eric claims that he's had virtual concussions running into the objects. So,
I can just imagine. So there's another reason, Chuck, to that one. There you go.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David.
I'm teasing. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the Apple Card. It seems like a while back we talked about the fact that Goldman Sachs wants out. They're losing nothing but money. This story here is talking about that they're still working to exit this Apple Card partnership as their consumer losses are up to $6 billion. Goldman Sachs is still looking for that partnership. They've had another new report in the Wall Street Journal about this, and then they will take another $400 million hit this quarter alone because of its floundering consumer business. But I think this has a lot to do with their
floundering.
Floundering. I use that word here.
I'm having
this was 9 to 5 Mac. It's 9 to 5 Mac here. So go ahead. I'll let you talk on this.
All right. So here's my problem with this story. And I'm sorry I interrupted you.
But
apparently not sorry enough to have not interrupted you. The way most of these stories are written makes it sound like this is Apple's fault. Goldman Sachs went out of a deal with Apple. They went out of consumer-facing products.
Right. Like GM was one of them.
Yeah, this isn't just about Apple Card. This is about that whole market space that Goldman Sachs decided to get into. Apple Card is just one of the cards that's part of that package. So don't say Goldman Sachs went out of the Apple Card deal. They went out of the consumer lending business.
Right. Because the consumer business is just killing them, is really what it is. But hey, I still think it's an amazing card. I mean, I'm getting some amazing benefits for it, and they've got millions upon millions of people using it, and lots of money that's on those cards. And I think they continue to do very well. There's a lot of happy consumers, but there's not a happy Goldman Sachs. I think Apple's happy with it.
I like my Apple Card.
Yeah, so do I. So,
but
Chuck,
I can't help but bring this up. The idea that if they're losing this much money on this card, and yet other banks and organizations are making money hand over fist on cards with the interest rates the way they are right now, or that they're able to charge, Goldman Sachs is doing something wrong.
Yeah, it seems
it's just that simple. And I mean, because if they've got GM and they've got Apple, I mean, those are two pretty high-profile clients that would seem to be kind of pre-qualified in so many different ways. And so what are they doing that is losing them all this money?
Good question.
I just don't get it.
No, very, very good question. I don't get it either. So, well, we'll find out, I guess, soon enough when this happens. I'll be sad if they don't get a buyer to continue on the great benefits we've been getting. And this card's 5 years old now. 2019 is when it was announced, which I can't believe that's that long ago at this point. So it's been pretty much my primary account that I use all the time with in purchasing stuff. Hey, I got 3% on my on the Vision Pro, so I can't complain about that. So it's been great. So one other story I would talk about real quick here is the Apple Watch. Interesting that there was no refresh of the Apple Watch Ultra or the Watch SE, since Apple focused on the Series 10. You thought that they would have updated the whole entire line, as we talked about earlier about the Series 10. But it is the first time in 2 years that the company hasn't done a full update all across at once here. So, and are people going to still buy this SE model? I don't know. The Ultra is still out there for sale. The Ultra 2 is still their expensive model at $799. I know the Ultra, I've seen them as cheap as $400, $450, I think it was.
Well, for like a Series 1.
For the first gen of the Ultra, yeah, which is probably still a perfectly good Apple Watch. And I mean, I think you talked about this. You talked about this before, Marty, saying that you're not an athlete, nor am I, and why would I need to have all these features on the Ultra? Yeah, I tried on the Ultra, and I thought it was cool looking. I'm a big guy, so I like the nice big watch, but do I want to spend that kind of money on a watch that I'm not going to use like a quarter of the features it offers? Right?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything to upgrade on the Ultra 2. And I'm waiting for the Ultra 2 to have some more biometrics like blood sugar. If they're able to crack that, then I'm upgrading. And so I don't think they had anything to add. Most of what they have added is in software upgrades in terms of what the watches can do versus anything that's hardware related. And for me, it's going to be biometrics. It's not going to be the speed of my marathon. So,
yeah. How about you, Chuck? What do you think of the Ultra? You said you were tempted, right?
Dave, I was tempted until they announced the Series 10. And again, my primary thing was screen size, because I've taken Dave Hamilton's actually at fault here, because at his encouragement, I took an Ultra and put it on my wrist and thought, that's not all that big, and boy, look at that screen as compared to my Series 7. So I was ready to pull the trigger. In fact, pre-announcement, I was really looking at some of the amazing sales they were having on the Ultra 2s. And then we got the announcement, and took a little while to clear away some of the confusion. But at the end of the day, the Apple Watch Series 10 has the bigger screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the features, the extra features, like I'm not a scuba diver, I'm not going to go climbing mountains or anything. So just not features I would use with any regularity, but the screen I'll use every time I look at the watch. So that's why I decided to go with it and not the Ultra. I'm with Marty. It seems to be so feature packed that I can't imagine what they would put in at this point, but they'll find something, and then we'll all say, "Oh, of course, that should have been in there from the beginning." So,
Jeff, your thoughts on this?
I would have been surprised to see an Apple Watch Ultra refresh this year, and everyone's hitting on the points. What can they add right now that would be worthwhile enough to actually spend the money to upgrade the device, and then to get us to pay for it? And it's like AirPods Max. What are you going to do to the product to make it worth creating a new version now? And that's where we are with Apple Watch. I will say though, I thought it was interesting that this year Apple really leaned into Apple Watch Ultra as a fashion statement, and that's where the black finish comes in. They showed off the new titanium Milanese loop for the Ultra, and it's for a lot of people the Ultra is a fashion statement and not like an outdoor activity tool, and that's okay. So why not lean into that?
Yep. How about you, Guy? Wrap this up.
No, I think, there really isn't anything that the Ultra can do that I need. So I'm still happy with my 7 and my 5.
Yeah. So it's definitely interesting to see what they did with this. And you're right. I don't see any reason to go with that. And I'm good with the 9. We'll see if I give in on the 10. You know me, I always give in. So, and finally, I want to talk a little bit about in iOS 18. The Apple did add the new iCloud Mail features. There was going to be several new features coming in iOS 18 that makes email management much easier. Apple did release this pretty amazing iOS 18 features list, which is linked within the article here, that covers more than 250 additions to its OS update. So a number of things that you're going to get here is iCloud Mail Cleanup. There's a new cleanup tools that can be accessed for iCloud Mail for the Mail app, iCloud.com, and iCloud Mail settings to help you keep your mailbox cleaned up. Managing up old emails, you'll have time-based rules that can be added for removing emails that are no longer needed to save storage. And the rules use the mail's categories, so that will be coming later in iOS update for cleanup actions, like automatically deleting or archive promotional emails that are unread for over a year. Then unsubscribe and delete. iCloud Mail has been able to help you unsubscribe from senders in bulk, sending future emails from those senders to trash. It'll probably not come to all. It's going to be probably a later update to this iOS update, but iOS 18 update later. But Marty, what do you think? I think this is. I'm glad to see some improvements on Apple Mail and iCloud.
Yeah, the yoke around my neck is Outlook, and I run most of my mail through it because the one function I really like is pinning, and I can pin stuff to the top in various groups. But now I also run a listserv, and I get a lot of requests for being added to the listserv. And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, and I've tried to fix it, those requests are now going directly in my delete folder. So it's like I have to look for new mail in Outlook in various places because Outlook doesn't seem to have the learning. So I am like today, this morning, I'm like, I'm going back to mail. I'll deal with without having the pins, because mails seem to be a little bit more reliable. And these options make it even better. I wish they would do more with mail. This almost seems a little too late. But there is some cool stuff in here. I just wish it would have happened 5 years ago.
Agreed. about you, Chuck? What do you think on this?
I can relate so much to Marty, with Outlook, but I too have sort of the same thing, at least for my business mail. So I'm still rocking Gmail, although I may have something to report on the mail front at some point in the near future. But for right now, Apple Mail just has been a little too quirky for me. I hope the enhancements and upgrades make it better, but it's not for me right now.
Okay. And you, Jeff?
I'd love to get excited about anything that Apple does with mail, but I've been down this path before.
Disappointing.
And I mean, I'm using mail on my iOS devices because I haven't found anything on those devices that I feel works any better. So why bother? On my Mac, I stopped using mail a while ago. Well, I had two problems. The first was Apple changed the under the hood architecture, so all the plugins that I relied on every day wouldn't work anymore. That was awesome. But then mail is such a fragile app. Something happened with my main email account where mail is the only application that can't open that account without crashing. So mail at that point, it was like, well, I've lost all the features that I really needed through plugins, and now I can't even use it at all. So I've walked away, and at this point, if it works for other people, great. But I'm just not really caring what new features they're throwing in.
Yep. And wrap it up here with Guy, and what do you think?
I've been using Apple Mail for a really long time. There's no special features that I really need. A couple of weeks ago, I actually went through and tried a couple of different email clients and trying to set them up reliably and get the information into it so that it would open up my other mail accounts was just more trouble than it seemed to be worth. And finally, I just kind of gave up and deleted them out of my applications folder and said, oh, well, you know what? For what I use mail for, it works fine. So sticking with mail until it blows up in my face, I suppose.
Hasn't
That's
yet.
when I walked away from it. It blew up in my face. And it's like, and I guess I'm done.
Yeah.
It's done. Yep. So, all right. What a great show. There was so much to cover this week, and I'm glad we were able to get to the Apple event, and we had a lot of great conversations about all the new stuff. And believe me, we'll be covering more. There's going to be more that were discovered. There's a lot of stuff I couldn't even cover this week because there's so much to talk about, but you'll be hearing about it in future shows. But for now, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios with 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you are notified for when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But just better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that site. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveD65 at mastodon.cloud. Guy Serle, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. Where can people find you? Yes.
You can send me an email, guy@mymac.com. Of course, there's the mightymymac.com podcast. We're coming up. We're about maybe before the end of the year, we'll hit 1,000 shows on the MyMac podcast. Gaz and I have been doing it for the last 700 plus. You want to talk to me about some weird stuff? Well, I'm still over there on the X's as Mac Parrot. But I'm also over on Instagram and Threads as VertShark, and on Counter Social and Mastodon.social as Mac Parrot. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chuck Joyner, thank you for coming here. We appreciate you. Thanks. Where can people find you?
MacVoices.com is where you'll find everything. Right now, we are releasing the Tuesday night discussion from Mac Voices Live about the Apple event and the panel's impressions on that. More interesting things coming up, including a talk with Eric and Marty on the Vision Pro Focus segments, and lots of other things too. So check it out at macvoices.com. Join the live show Tuesday nights on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. And on the socials, if you want to talk to me for any reason, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner pretty much everywhere.
Great. Make sure you check out macvoices.com. Your website's completely remodeled and revamped, and I'm very impressed.
Brand new. Just need to work a couple little bugs out, but it's functioning just fine. Nobody knows about the bugs except me at the moment. So
yeah, that's okay. It's working well. And Marty Jencius, thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to having more conversations with you with our Vision Pro comparisons. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Jencius, Jencius, at mastodon.social. And Vision Profiles. Best way to get connected to all of that is through the podtalk.net website. I'm trying to get my media all consolidated. Chuck has done a wonderful job of that. I get to be on Chuck's show Tuesday nights, this show on Thursday nights, and then Vision Profiles on Monday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern Time.
Great. Thank you. And Jeff Gamet, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Where can people find you?
It's always a pleasure to get to be here, and yeah, I just have so much fun. So thank you for letting me be part of this. All right, so social medias, I'm Jay Gamet on pretty much everything. I'm active on Mastodon and Instagram. Then for shows, Chuck, bless his heart, lets me join in on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. And Dave, bless your heart, you let me join in here on Thursdays. Then the British Tech Network. How is it that after all these years, I'm still interim hosting? And no one has been like, thank you, but we've got this. Anyhow, big show on Thursdays, Mac show on Fridays. And Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch.
Great. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. We always love doing this show. And there's going to be, like I said, more to talk about with the announcement. We got iOS 18 coming out. We'll have new iPhones to talk about. There's just going to be more and more stuff to talk about here in future shows. But until next time, thanks again for listening and watching, and we'll talk again soon.